Prime Minister Keir Starmer has condemned the damage to 2 military Voyager jets at RAF Brize Norton, calling the incident a disgraceful act of vandalism. I think it's a little more than that, Prime Minister. Footage shows 2 protesters from Palestine Action speeding across the tarmac on e-scooters and spraying red paint into the engines. I mean, I would take a guess, without knowing how much it costs to repair things, that would be significant. The group says it targeted the base over its alleged role in supporting British military operations linked to Gaza. The Reform MP Sarah Pochin has been speaking on this to Talk. She was with Alex a little earlier and shared a similar sentiment to the Prime Minister.
You know what I'd do with them? I'd send them back to where they've come from, British citizens or not. I'd strip them of their British citizenship because this is treason, and I'd send them back to wherever they've come from. But the point is, this is not, as you say, like we get on a daily basis outside Parliament, just, you know, your professional protesters. These are hardcore criminals that are committing treason and need to be treated very, very severely.
Yeah, I was being ironic, by the way, when I said a similar sentiment to the Prime Minister. It couldn't have been more different. Of course, the PM saying a disgraceful act of vandalism. Let's speak with Dr. Chris Parry, former Nato and Royal Navy commander. Not a Royal Mail commander, Chris. I mean, I'm sure that's a very good job to have, but not on your CV. But glad you've inputted lots of work in the military over the years. And of course, when you see a story such as this, I think we can all agree, whether you are somebody with a military background or not, this is huge, right? Breaking into an RAF base and vandalising planes that could have been almost ready for a mission is right up there in terms of criminality.
Yeah, Ian, I should say that as helicopter aircrew, I've spent my time delivering a lot of the mail around the fleet.
So you have done a bit of it.
I've done a bit of it, yeah. Yeah, let's be honest here. Let's call it what it is. It's sabotage. These are frontline aircraft. They've just been incapacitated by the paint going in the engines. And you're absolutely right. It's going to cost a fortune in terms of maintenance hours to check those aircraft over, make sure the engines are okay. You know, heaven help us if one of those engines flames out when the aircraft's in the air next time because something's happened inside. You know, we're talking about people now who've got no responsibility for their country, for the people who have to fly those aircraft. As Sarah Pochin said earlier on, they're criminals. And, you know, the current going rate for hurty words is 3.5 years. I'm hoping to see these people get at least 3.5 years inside for this. And if they aren't British nationals, immediate deportation. You know, we have a government that says we're on a war footing at the moment in relation to Russia, China, and Iran. It says we've got Iranian sleeper cells in our country. And yet one of our major, in fact, our major RAF base is wide open to these jokers. And I'm afraid to say that saying, you know, we don't really like this act of vandalism is pathetic.
It's absolutely unbelievable. As many people have pointed out, if you tried this in China or Russia, you'd just be shot dead if you were seen on an airfield and shouldn't be there. I think we can all know.
Ian, during the Cold War, you'd have been shot dead.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Heads are going to roll on this, surely, Chris. I mean, you know, I don't want to dob anybody in it, but there will surely be somebody who will be responsible for security. And one has to assume, unless this is the new terrain for how you guard an RAF base, or don't, as the case may be, then you'd assume someone's going to get a phone call from their senior officer.
Yeah, I think there has to be an inquiry and find out where, you know, the blame, and let's face it, there is going to have to be blame attached here, lies. You know, you have to have a balance of authority and delegation in things, and we've got to find out what arrangements are in place. But Ian, I've got to tell you, every single base in the country is wide open. You and I can probably buy a drone on Amazon tomorrow, and on Sunday we can probably land it on one of those planes. You know, we are in a situation where we don't take it seriously. Our politicians talk the talk. They don't actually back it up. You know, typically, you know, we talk about percentages of GDP and things like that. It's irrelevant. You know, we can spend all the money we like if we don't have the capabilities to defend ourselves and to actually put our words into action. You know, we are basically funding our defence at the moment on rhetoric, not on hard capabilities. And I'm afraid this is a cultural attitude that somehow, you know, the missiles that are hitting Kharkiv and Kiev can't hit Kent, for example.
Yeah.
We're in the front line. And, if these two jokers can get in, as I said, they've actually done us a favour because they've highlighted the problem we've got practically everywhere. I'm in Portsmouth at the moment, Ian. I don't think you could get somebody into the naval base here, frankly. Yeah. So I think, we need to get onto people, whether it's the Ministry of Defence Guard Service or the RAF Police. They need sorting out. They need to say, look, this is what we need to do on a Friday morning when everybody else is asleep. We've got to look after our fellow servicemen and our country.
What's interesting about this, I mean, it would be laughable if it was in any other setting. If this was a case of some camouflaged people who dug a big hole under a fence and all the rest of it, you could see what they were trying to do and why they felt the need to do that. They went in on a flipping e-scooter, for goodness sake, Chris. I mean, this was... there was no hiding this. It's almost carry-on stuff.
Yeah, it's a big base, but on the other hand, imagine it happening at Heathrow. Do you think it could happen at Heathrow? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure there will be the usual litany of excuses about under-resourcing and all this sort of thing. At the end of the day, we're concentrating on things that are not important at the expense of those that are, frankly.
Chris, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. Enjoy Portsmouth. He's off his way down there. Dr. Chris Parry, former NATO and Royal Navy commander, equally as flummoxed as the rest of us.